Hello and welcome to today's video. I've been back from Norway now for a week. I'm filming this on Friday evening, Friday the 20th of September, and next week I'm going to YarnAddict and I need to cast on a new bigger project. Since I came back from Norway I've knitted a small Mobius cow, and at the moment I'm working on an intarsia cushion for a workshop this autumn, and I also need to knit a small feral cushion for another workshop this autumn. But apart from that, oh, and I cast on for a brioche clutch as well, so I got two small projects on the needles and another one to cast on, and I got a couple of rose socks on the go. So technically that probably would be enough knitting to see me through next week and YarnAddict, but I also would like to cast on for another sweater. I have last year I knitted 2 sweaters myself, and this year I've knitted 4, I think. Yeah, I think 4. I've really gotten into knitting sweaters myself, and I'm going to Norway in November and I want to buy some yarn for a sweater then. So I've got all this idea buzzing around my head and I'm not quite sure what to do, so I thought I'd just have a little chat about it in this video, and if you want to give me some of your views in the comments, please do. If you're new here, my name is Anniken. I design knitting patterns, I teach knitting workshops online and in person, and I sell yarn through my website YarnAddict.co.uk. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. So I did start talking about this in my last podcast episode, and I edited it all out because the episode would have been about an hour long, and I tried not to keep it that long because I think that's a bit too long. I'm trying to stick to like 30 to 40 minutes. Usually it's about 40 minutes, I think, but I can't stop thinking about what to cast on next. So, and I would really like to make a decision over the weekend. I really want to cast on something new over the weekend, but if I can't do that, at least do the swatching and make a decision this weekend, so I can write it up early next week and cast on before we go to Yorkshire for YarnAddict, which is next Thursday. We're away for 5 days, and I won't have a ton of knitting time, but I'll have knitting time in the evenings, and maybe a little bit at the show. If it's easy knitting, I'll probably take a sock to knit on at the show, but I will have some knitting time in the car on the way up and on the way back. And some of the projects I've already got on the needles, like the brioche clutch, I may finish that before then, although I haven't written the whole pattern yet. And the feral cushion, I can't knit that in the car because I've got to look at it too much. So I thought I would just quickly talk about what I'm thinking about. So the first one is my advent calendar from Truly Hooked from last year. I've said a few times in the last few months that I really want to knit this up into something by the autumn, so I can release the pattern by the end of October or sometime in November at the latest. It's not going to be by the end of October because I haven't even started this thing yet. So I feel like I should start something with this first. I don't quite know what. I got 480 grams because I got 24 20-gram skeins. I spent ages talking about this in the podcast last week, and then I edited it all out. I don't like some of these oranges in the middle. So let's just see if that one's okay. That one, maybe. These 3 I really don't like. And, well, probably those 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 4, I feel like I could easily take out and not miss them. That would make it 400 grams, which would be the equivalent of 4 full skeins of sock yarn. And I am thinking about a garment, but not like a sweater. I probably have enough here for a sweater for me, but I was thinking about like a sort of loose fitting kind of waistcoat type thing, which is what I have in mind would be knitted in like 3 rectangles. So I was thinking about that. But then I also saw this sweater in Norway, which is kind of like a poncho sweater. So it was a loose fitting sweater that went to about elbows, kind of batwing shape. That would be perfect layer over garments and long sleeve t-shirts and stuff, and I really like that kind of garments. And if I was going to knit it in this, I'd probably knit it sideways, so the stripes would be sideways, but I also feel like this is going to be quite loud and maybe a bit too colourful for that, so I might stick with my original idea for this. If I can get around to swatching for it this weekend, maybe I should cast some for this weekend, because I really could do with getting that done soon-ish. So that's option 1. Option 2, if we stick with this garment, I have some yarn left over from last year, year before, no, probably 2 years ago. I was knitting a garment that was in Knitting Magazine. If I can find a picture, I'll put it on the screen, using yarn from Orchid Luxury Yarn. So I used this as the main colour, which is an undyed yak, what's it, 65% superwash merino, 20% silk, 20% yak. I got this one from Belinda Harris Reed at the Knitting Hotel. But it's the same base. Oops. I may also actually be able to get this directly from the wholesaler, I'm not quite sure. And then I got these 4 balls left from that sweater. I thought I had 5 because I used 5 colours in the sweater, so I don't know why I've only got 4 left. But I was thinking about doing something with these and that, and if I could get another skein of this, or maybe this would be enough. This might be a good choice for this sweater I was thinking about, this loose fitting poncho type sweater, because it's not a ton. This isn't enough for a sweater for me. For a sweater for me, I probably need about 400 grams. So I need to get another 100 grams. I don't know how much this is, but my guess is that it's about 100 grams, maybe a little bit more. And this, probably these together would be at least 100 grams, probably more. I got interrupted. Someone was at the door, and even though my husband is sitting 2 meters from my front door, he's wearing his noise cancelling headphones and couldn't hear it. So I don't know where to use this. The colour of the poncho I saw in Norway was actually about this kind of colour, so this would be quite nice. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards the most, I think. And then earlier this summer, was it when I went to Norway in May? Or was it late when I went to Spain in June? I can't remember. But at some point this summer, I was talking on my podcast about casting on a sweater in Manos Uruguay Marina in this colourway. I was discussing different colourways. I was leaning towards that green one there and a couple other colourways. Anyway, I've had a new delivery of this for Yarndale, and there's a colour this colour, but it's come in 2 different dye lots, and one is a bit more pale blue than this, and one is a bit more lilac than this. The actual one that came in my delivery looks like this one does in my screen, which is more lilac than it does in person. And this is lace weight, and I wouldn't mind a sort of lightweight lacy lace weight sweater maybe for the summer, but obviously we're going into autumn now, so would I wear that much over the winter? I also have this sweater, which my pink slightly fluffy sweater. It's not super fluffy, it's alpaca and silk that I knitted last year. When I was in Norway this time, in a couple of weeks ago, I saw that yarn in the yarn shop, and they have a lavender that's very similar to this. There's a lavender that I knitted another sweater in like that earlier this year in March, I think, and I like that, but it's very, very pale, and I don't really like very pale colours. And they have one that's a bit more, like maybe the brighter bit of this, a little bit darker than that, maybe a bit more bluish lavender. I really liked, and I was thinking I could hold that double with this. I wore this pink sweater a lot last year. It was quite big, and because I've lost a little bit of weight, it is bigger on me now because I put it on the other day. But I wore it a lot, and what's happened, I wore it a lot in the house. I wore it a lot sitting at my desk, sitting downstairs knitting in the evenings. I wore it a lot in the car, driving to and from workshops and things like that. And what's happened is at the back, can you see that? I don't know how easy it is to see that, but this back bit has quite basically shrunk a bit. And I wonder whether it's because it's kind of rubbed against the back of the chair and stuff, and that's made it kind of shrink up a bit and almost felt. But the back is shorter than the front, which I don't think notices that much. Is that noticeable when I wear it? But I really like this, but it's also worn a little bit thin in places. I think that's because I've worn it so much. So I am thinking about knitting that again in that same pink. I'm also thinking about knitting it with 2 strands held double. Either 2 of those held double, or I could get the colour that's similar to this and knit 1 of these plus 1 of those held double. But I wouldn't do that till I go to Norway in November. And it depends on whether I decide to go with a backpack only or a backpack and a suitcase, how much luggage allowance I will have. And that depends on whether I lose any more weight between now and then, because I have clothes in Norway. So if I lose more weight, I need to bring more clothes with me, because the clothes I have there will be too big for me. If I don't lose any more weight, then I'll probably just go with a backpack. Maybe bring a tote bag back home with me. So if I do any shopping in Norway, I don't have to panic too much. So I think this one's on hold for now, although when this delivery arrived, when I unpacked it today, arrived yesterday. When I packed it today and I saw those new, the yarn I'd ordered, I was like, what, that's such a pretty colour. So I don't know, maybe. And then, so what's that, 3rd option? I don't know, I've lost track. And then I knitted this earlier this summer, just before I went to Norway in August. And I really like this. I've worn it a few times, not worn it a lot, but I wore it a few times in Norway. Wore it travelling to and from Norway, and I probably worn it a couple of times since we came home. And I really like this. I especially like this lace detail at the top. And while I was knitting it, I started thinking about this yarn that I've had in my stash for I don't know how many years. When I used to be an indie dyer a long time ago, tell me in the comments if you remember buying my indie hand-dyed yarn. I had these. These is something I bought wholesale to dye, and it's alpaca, silk and merino, or silk and cashmere. I'm not sure what the blend is, but it's like a standard yarn that a lot of indie dyes I think sell. And it comes in this beautiful natural grey colour. And I did used to have like a whole pack of it that I kept in case I wanted to knit myself something in it. Then at some point I think I listed most of them on my website and sold them undyed. But I have 3 skeins left, and that wouldn't be enough for a garment for me. I really need 4. But I thought if I combine it with a bright pink like this one, which is Botanical Yarns, or like this one, which I just used for my hat, that's Barbie Pink from the Discreet Unicorn. This has got sparkle in it as well. It's a bit lighter than this one. Like a bright pink like that in a sock yarn. I could use the lace sections. I could stripe it with every 2 rows of that and 2 rows of the pink, because there's a big lace section on the sleeve as well. Where's the sleeve? Oh, there. No, I'm holding the sleeve, that's why I can't see it. And maybe at the bottom of the body as well, I don't know. And when I was knitting this, that kept popping into my head, and that would make this sweater a bit more wintry, because this is really this is cotton 4-ply, so it's quite a summery sweater really. And the grey pink one would make it a little bit more wintry, because this is a much warmer fibre. So that is another thing I'm thinking about. But I've just knitted that sweater, don't want to knit it again. Thinking about maybe waiting until like after Christmas and doing that, so it's ready for spring, although this will be more of a wintry version. When I saw this colorway, it's called Allis. I think it's one of her like show colorways from a show earlier this year, but I can't remember which show. On the shows earlier in the year. And I got 4 skeins of that, and I bought 4 with the idea that I would knit a garment. This is the standard kind of sock yarn, superwash merino nylon, 75%, 25%. I love that colorway, it's gorgeous. I have 4 skeins of this, so enough for a garment. I swatched this stitch pattern earlier in the year when I knitted a sweater in this yarn, which I used a different stitch pattern for. And I was going to use this stitch pattern for this yarn. And my plan was, as soon as I got everything else off the needles, I would cast on for this, so I have this ready for the winter. But then I'm thinking, if I'm losing weight, obviously I would like to lose quite a bit more weight. Do I want to knit this now, because this is quite expensive yarn, or do I want to wait in case I lose more weight? But then I can't keep putting off knitting stuff in case I lose more weight. So I don't know, but I probably will put this on hold for the time being. maybe till after I get back from Norway and see what the situation is like then. And then one more I'm considering, and that is this one. So this is Manos Uruguay Fino, and I can get this wholesale. When I first got this, the pink was a slightly different dye lot. So Manos Uruguay is hand dyed, so the dye lots can vary a lot from batch to batch because it's hand dyed yarn. And most of the other ones I've had before have looked different than this. When I got this, it's got a lot more variation in it and it's a bit lighter. And I think I put aside 4 or 5 skeins for this because I fancy knitting a sweater in it. They didn't have this on their website, I don't think, when I just ordered it. This is Fascinator. Yes, Fascinator. I don't think they had it when I just ordered it. Maybe they did and I didn't order it because I already have several. But then I was also thinking this would look really nice with this held double. But that would make it also a bit thicker, and I don't like stuff that's really thick. But I am thinking about this, but I feel like these two would kind of serve the same kind of purpose in terms of knitting, although obviously different colours. So yeah, those are my options. And I can't make up my mind about what I want to do. So tell me in the comments which one you think I should do next. I feel like if I'm sensible, I should do this next. But I don't know if I want to be sensible. I also can't make up my mind exactly what to knit with that. I think I know what to knit with it, but I do need to knit a swatch and do some numbers before I can cast on. So let me know, what would you knit? If you were me, what would you knit next? If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.